Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special coverage following up on the latest updates on the Iran war, where U.S. President Donald Trump said on Tuesday he has agreed to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. He spoke to leaders in Pakistan, which has been a mediator between Washington and Tehran, and which had sought a 2-week ceasefire in the Iran war. On this issue, we are delighted to be joined over the phone by Major General Osama Kabeer, advisor at Commander and Staff College. Good morning, sir.
Very good morning to you, ma'am. Thank you very much for your telephone call.
Thank you so much for joining us. So how do you see Trump's agreement to suspend bombing of Iran for 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's very important now, sort of information we just had like a couple of minutes ago. This is very interesting. This is very important. This is very sort of relief for the whole Middle East. All the countries and the states from the Middle East, maybe the whole world now needs something like that to be happening. And the question now is that for how old is that proposal came from the Pakistani Prime Minister, Mr. Mohammad Shahbaz Sharif. I would say maybe the U.S. administration have had this declaration from Pakistan maybe in the early morning today, yesterday, but they kept it like the last card they have in hand to play it in the right and good time, seeing what Iran could be given in their negotiations with the Americans. So let's say, but collectively and generically by the end, this is very important. This is very good for the sake of the whole province of the Middle East. And let's see what will happen, because I understand they would start their own discussions and negotiations on Friday through the Pakistani diplomatic channel route. And the whole world now is cheering up about that, because the Donald Trump declaration of returning Iran to zero and giving them the Stone Age, all this is end of civilization. That was like very early talk and very like high level sort of talking that wouldn't go with diplomacy. Thanks for the diplomacy. Egypt have played a very pivotal role also, plus Pakistan, Turkey, and Qatar. Too many countries now with a very diplomatic heft we're trying through that since something like more than 7 days now. Yes, ma'am.
So Trump said the U.S. has received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it's a workable basis on which to negotiate. What are the main topics or main issues discussed in the 10 points or included in the 10 points?
Exactly. That's a very good question. It's very important. The main issues within the Iran 10 points of proposal comes, first of all, that they need some good guarantees and guarantees as well that to make sure that not U.S., not even Israel, not both of them to re-attack again Iran in the very near future, the mid future, or in the far future. So that means that this point is very distinctive. It's very deep, and I would say Pakistan, Egypt, Turkey, and Qatar, maybe also the KSA would turn around on this and try to detail it, like to start negotiating that between Pakistanis and Americans, because as I understand, if they are not really conduct their attack on Pakistan, which means maybe the United States posts and naval bases or military bases within the Middle East to leave back to the U.S. I'm not sure about that up to now, but I would say maybe that's what the Iranian means. However, I would say also that the Iranians needed to have some sort of rest and to get some relief out of this continuous bombardment and shelling on their lands. Yes, ma'am.
So, in your opinion, what are the chances that this ceasefire may turn into a long-term deal?
Very good question, too. I would say a high-level chance. You know why? Because also the Americans have nothing else to do. As well as Donald Trump start talking about this new aggressive strike and weapons and sort of fire that the Iranians have never seen within their whole life. I would say that was very exaggerating in talk. You know why? Because the United States also have done their ultimate best, the ultimate strong power to use within this 40-day war up to now. I would say that they have reached the point of culmination since something like 20-25 days ago. So what else we can use against the Iranians? Iranians are very good the defensive position. They're still launching the missiles now. They are hitting the depth of Israel, the side of Israel, and they're hitting the GCC. Unfortunately, that's something we condemned and rejected very much, like 10 times within the media. And we have that diplomatic jurors by the Egyptian political leadership as well as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is very, very harmful, but it seems Iran have something in their reserve. As well as also the United States of America comes at the first place as the strongest army in the world. But this war is endless. It's asymmetric, and this new version of war that is striking within the world now, where you can use cyberspace warfare, where you can use the economy as a tool in the war, because the military forces, the long-range missiles, and the Spirit aircraft, this all type of asymmetric war, it's sort of attrition war for both counterparts. And that's why I would say congratulations to the diplomatic channel vote, and we wish luck for the Pakistanis as well as Egyptians, Turkey, to go through that and to terminate the whole status quo to a peaceful one. Yes, ma'am.
So to what extent do you think the United States has achieved its goals from the Iran war so far?
Yeah, frankly, I wouldn't say like they didn't achieve any one of the four main political or whatever strategic military goals, because they were speaking about toppling off or throwing out the Mullah regime, but we have a new Mullah. We were speaking about the nuclear program, but the fertile quantity of 450 kilograms of fertile uranium still there with the Iranians. We were speaking about the influential arms of Iran, speaking about Hezbollah in Lebanon, speaking about PMF, and I mean here the Popular Mobilization Forces in Iraq, as well as the Osama Houthi in Yemen, and they are still working. So the fourth thing that they need to mitigate or to shorten the range of the missiles that the Iranians have in their reserves, less than 500 kilograms, and the Iranians refuse that too. So let's say, yes, the Iranian military have been hurt, and they lost like a great scale of their capabilities. But their reserve of the missiles, it seems the key word here, or the key issue, that because up till now, if you can observe that on the media channels, Israel is under attack now, and in the early morning, and this afternoon. So finally, yes, Donald Trump to Iran, you need to get to the table again, bring your papers, set up other thing here. And we have very, very good mediators that playing very, very important, intrinsic, pivotal role. Egypt, Pakistan, KSA, and Turkey, and Qatar, as well as Oman also. I cannot forget Oman, pivotal role. 5 great countries trying to get up to good resolutions and conclude the whole flammable situation to a calm and much more comfortable one. Yes, ma'am.
Do you think both sides will abide by the ceasefire?
That's a very smart question. Yeah, I mean, listen, all is fair in love and warfare. I mean, they would say like, there is nothing guaranteed 100%, specifically when it comes to that large-scale war. It hits within the whole Middle East. Look what happened in Gaza. When we came up to the agreement of 15th of October 2025 here in Sharm el-Sheikh, signed by the Egyptian political leadership, by the attendance of the American administration, and tens of the kings and presidents and prime ministers of different countries from the European Union, from the Far East, Middle East. That was great, but what happened? Israel didn't respect that, and they committed like more than 2,500 violations against the Gaza Strip. However, everybody now seems to be like forgot about what happened in Gaza, what's happening in the Palestine territory. But violations are there, and it will be there. But the thing is that directly and collectively, and by the end, you have a quieter and a much more peaceful and calm atmosphere, from which you can conclude your negotiations in an atmosphere that people could think much more carefully and reasonably and with wisdom. And that's why I would say an agreement, that's fantastic. Agreement could be violated, that's very much possible. But hopefully we can contain all this sort of violations might take in place in the very near future, and inshallah we'll get to a peaceful situation by then.
Yes, so do you think that the U.S. President Donald Trump was serious about his threats, or was he just putting pressure on Iran to reach such a ceasefire?
Another very smart question. You know what, man? The problem here is that maybe the United States administration had declared victory very early. They start talking about their victory from day 3 or 4. Now we are in day 40. The thing is that you cannot declare your victory quickly, because that might mitigate your capability. That might falsify your that might falsify your propagated narrative to at least your own nation, like what's happening in the United States of America. You can see that the protesters and the protests have been hitting within something like 50 states. Around 8 million people went down the streets. You know why? Because they felt they've been fooled by the administration. So the threatening of Donald Trump to the Iranians seems to be like very exaggerating within that. He was prolonged. I mean, we need to mitigate this political sharp speech, because it's here. It's the momentum of the military operations taking place. Iran is still retaliating on the United States and Israel for 40 days. So for how long? You will understand that you need to go to the diplomacy channel route. And I would say Donald Trump finally have declared his victory. Okay, we agree on that. And if you can see that, what's his vice president name, J.D. Vance, he spoke something early today about we have achieved our all military objectives. Okay, that's fine. We care about the Iranian missiles now. Okay, let's get to the table. And I tell you the truth, I was expecting something like that to be happening by the last hour. If you understand, it seems that we have within that threatening duration limit time is about 30 minutes from now. And 30 minutes prior to that, they have declared that there is an agreement, and Donald Trump have accepted that. So we are happy by the end. Thank you.
The U.S. and Israeli objectives from this war on Iran are not exactly the same, are they?
Of course not. Because, as you understand, ma'am, like too many were talking about that, and I do believe then that Israel have dragged the United States administration to such war that America never needed that. Iran was not a threat to America. It could be, yes, against Israel. But it's not a threat to Israel as well, unless Israel will what? To provoke, let's say that, to provoke them, I mean, to drag them to the operation theater. So, when you start, like, if you remember that Mike Huckabee, the ambassador of the United States of America in Israel, when you start speaking about the new Middle East, and Israel has the right to expand its geopolitical scale of land, east, south, east, north, west. I mean, that was something like very, very irresponsible to be outspoken by somebody who was representing a place of ambassador, specifically the United States of America. And that's why the Iranians have perceived that it's sort of like a new geopolitical danger, an imminent jeopardy surrounding Iran. And since they have been hit strongly 8 months ago, if you can remember the 12-day war, and by that time, Iranians have exerted much more alert and awareness against another strike might take place in the very near future. And from that, and from the military operation momentum, we can say that the Iranians could prove that they have something in hand, they have enhanced capability. They're still suffering the infiltration of the intelligence black worker within their territories, but militarily, the missile reserve seems to be very strong with the Iranians.
Anyway, I hope this will really turn into a longer-term peace deal. Thank you so much, Major General Osama Kabeer, advisor at Commander and Staff College, for your time and for your valuable information. And thank you, everyone, for watching.